Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Once again, I'm staring down into the camera. Why is that? Well, it's because my back is still hurt. It's much better than it was yesterday, but today I'm once again staring down into the camera. It's not the best angle for a podcast, but it will do since most of this is just you listening to me blather. Listening to me blather. I swear to God, I'm an interesting person if you just listen to me. As always, thank you to the people who already like and subscribe. And if you don't like and subscribe, well, the button's right there. Go right ahead. Like and subscribe. Anyways, we're going to talk about today is like all of the issues I talk about on this podcast. Not particularly pressing, but since you're here, we may as well do it. SAG and the AMPTP are back at the table today. They're sitting down, they're having more discussions. Whether those discussions will bear fruit or not, I don't know. Far be it from me to decide. I've already made predictions, and those predictions have already been wrong. But it does bring up a question of how we begin to position ourselves for life after the strike and what we need to know for life after the strike. First things first, understand that life does not just immediately explode into a bevy of new projects that are available. There is always contraction after negotiations like this, and there is always contraction after negotiations like this because there's new economics that have to settle out. That usually takes about 6 months. There may be more things happening in those 6 months. There may be projects announced, but just because a project is announced and in development does not mean that project is available to start auditioning for yet. I know this painfully because I'm looking at the recent Suits companion series that was announced in development, and I was so excited about that. I went to try and see what the news was, who was developing it, who were the studios behind it, and I discovered that it was literally just in the it was almost as if it was just like a cup of coffee idea that Aaron Korsh had with the studio. It should be a fun series, but again, it takes time. The WGA and SAG both having their contract means that productions will start to go back to work. Series that were originally pushed off until 2024 will pick up as best they can post the new year, or as fast as they can, rather. But that's still going to be in a little bit of a lull, and they'll probably change some of the storylines to accommodate the fact that the economics of everything will change a little bit. So what do we do on an individual level? Well, for one thing, I'll speak to actors, because if I speak to anybody else, I'm just sort of lying. What actors can do is stay in class. Yes, that's right, kids. Turns out, if you want to do something, you actually have to learn how to do it. And you have to continue to learn how to do it because it's a changing and evolving landscape. And look, am I a genius at this stuff? No. But if you want to do something professionally, you should expect to have to train like a professional. That only makes sense. Some people are very good at it, just like there are some doctors who are naturally very good at doctoring, medicine, I should say. But just because they're good at it naturally doesn't mean they don't have to spend some time learning. In fact, there's a minimum amount of time you have to spend studying before you can start practicing medicine. They get rather upset with you if you walk into a surgery suite and say, "I'm ready to begin," and you don't have a medical license. They frown on that sort of thing. And you have to do certain things to keep your medical license up. Same with law licenses. Every 2 years, you have to take continuing education, and you have to, keep learning. I'm doing this because the continuing education in the legal system is a joke, but it's neither here nor there. I'm just grumpy because my back hurts. For actors, there are technically no rules. You could technically walk onto a set from day one and be on a project. Actually, you could almost do it middle of day one because you could walk on set and be an extra. Now, an extra, as those of you who are in the business know, is a background actor. Unfortunately, someone used some language that people disagreed with, but unfortunately, it is pretty apt. Background actors are essentially part of the scenery. They fill out the space. If your story is about a professor teaching a classroom and one of the students in that classroom, you're going to have a whole room full of classrooms because it'd just be weird to have one student in there. Those other background actors who are playing the students are pretty much part of the scenery. Now, They fill an important role. They bring life to the set. They bring life to what you're trying to shoot. But I digress. You don't really need any training to be an extra. And it's actually a great way to get experience on a set because you can get on a lot of really big sets as an extra. But to go from being an extra to having a speaking part is a big jump because an extra doesn't necessarily have the same challenges and doesn't have the same responsibility on their shoulders. If you have a speaking role in a large TV series or a movie or whatever, what have you, you are tasked with moving the story forward regardless of the size of that role. Even if you're the guy serving a cup of coffee, the script or the writers have decided that the guy serving the cup of coffee is important in that moment to the story, or to developing a moment within that story, or to developing a beat within that story, or even just to being awkward in the middle of that beat because it's funny. You, as the actor playing that role, both have to know how to handle it and have to execute it. That takes some training. And if you think it doesn't take some training, I got a bridge to sell to you. If you don't know what that phrase is, that's an old phrase from generations ago. By generations ago, I mean like one generation. They don't use it as much nowadays. Anyways, so actors, as the strike maybe comes to an end, maybe doesn't, you can train. You can hit up your contacts, and you have them, trust me. Even if you don't think you have them, you do have them. So follow up with them. If you have new headshots, send the new headshots around. Touch base with people who you've had good conversations with. But touch base with them in a respectful manner. Sam Stiglitz has a pretty good run about this. You shouldn't touch base with people just to say like, hey, are you going to hire me yet? But if you've auditioned for them in the past, if you've auditioned for them in the past, for example, and you get a submission report from your agent that tells you who they've submitted you to. If you got submitted, and even if you didn't get an audition with them, you can say, hey, just wanted to touch base. I saw on my submission report from my agent, I was submitted to you guys. I want to just say thank you for the consideration on that role. Looking forward to getting in front of you at some point. Something friendly. Just touch base. Keep your name out there. Keep your name with people. Don't stalk producers and don't stalk casting directors and incessantly email them and try to become their best friend. It's not a good move. People don't like that in general. If actors feel like, I feel like actors need this note. If you wouldn't like receiving a string of emails from somebody demanding your attention, don't do that to somebody else. Just don't do it. I don't recommend it. It's not a great move. For advice on how to email, how to follow up, what to do as an actor, go to Sam Stiglitz's Instagram page. For training, go to Lauren Patrice Nadler's page. And for nonsense from a guy whose back is arcing pain, stick around. I have that. But that's basically it. Actors train, network, and when the strike ends, work your little tails off. Because guess what? Every other industry has to do that. Every other industry has to work their little tails off. We're not unique. It just feels unique. If you're a contractor, you have to fight for contracts. If you're a doctor, you have to find patients. Although with doctors, the patients tend to sort of stumble into the ER for you, which is a little bit sad. Sometimes those patients don't want to stumble into the ER. You have to treat them humanely and with care and dignity. Look, the fact that actors have to work is something they get very dramatic about. Actors get a lot of no's. Breathe and realize that with hard work and dedication, you might have a career. But don't worry, everybody else struggles with the same thing. That's all I got today. Today I'm tired. You deal with it. To those who subscribe, like and subscribe, thank you so much for listening. If you don't like and subscribe already, but you liked what I said, like, subscribe, go back. I got like 97 other episodes for you to listen to. And if you don't, well, have a good one. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.